The last two areas that we're going to look at in the Endmill or contours is the feature options and then the lead in. Feature options automatically looks at the pocket similar to drilling, and you can do entry method. So if you had went and drilled a bunch of holes in the part, you can start in the middle of a hole. So if I do entry drill or entry hole, I can say, well, I want to go have a drill, and then I can pick where I want those to be. So if I come out here, I can pick that I want that to go in the arc center. You'll notice I just highlighted it and then went and clicked it in SolidWorks. And then I can also tell it, well, I want it to come out of that hole as well. So real quickly and easily, you can, if you were machining and you'd already drilled all these holes and you want to come back and finish it, you can tell CamWorks, hey, start in this hole, come out of this hole, and it allows, instead of doing a feed in, feed out, you have the ability just to drop in. You can also do bore, spiral, if you want to do spiral entry. We'll just leave it at none for this option. And then we have the ability to override the parameters down here as well, as far as machining depth and how far it goes. There are going to be times where if the part is going to be flipped, you may not want to machine it to the depth of the SolidWorks model, but pick a point halfway through so when I flip the part over, I can machine and still break all the chips off. That gives you the ability to do that right here with override machining depth. And then error segment offset is how much air we have that the tool is allowed to actually run in before it's just wasting time cutting in the air. The last tab we're going to look at is lead in. And lead in and lead out has lots of options here. By default, your lead in and lead out is an arc. And if I move around over here on my part, you can see I have my X with the square box letting me know where it's going to start. If I zoom in here, it's going to show it shows the arc down here, lead in, lead out, and then it shows a dot. And this dot is the midpoint of that line segment. Now, some people like to start in the middle of that profile. Some people like to start at a start point or an end point. So you have the ability to click start point and then come out here and click and change where that point is going to be. Now, whenever you see the blue highlighted contours out here, this is the contour or the chain that CamWorks automatically selected. I did not have to translate or transfer geometry. CamWorks automatically did that for me. And then here I can just pick whether it's at a start point or an end point on how it's going to work. Now, whether it's at this end point or at this end point, you have the ability to adjust that. It's just going to depend upon if you have conventional milling setup or climb milling setup as to which way it automatically defaults to on which side. You can override that and make that change. You can also do gouge checking. But once you have it started, let's say we go to this midpoint here, if you hit apply lead in, lead out to all, it'll automatically make everything align to that. This area down here is somewhat self-explanatory. You have arc, perpendicular, parallel, and none. And basically, this gives you all the information you need here for the type of tool path it's going to run. And then these names correspond to this information down here. So how far in you're going to lead in, any angle you're going to run at, the radius you're going to run at, the arc angle. And then you can set your lead out to be the same, or you can set it completely different. For example, if I wanted to go at this point and I wanted to lead in parallel here, but when it comes out here, I want it to be perpendicular, then I can change that. Say this one's going to be perpendicular and this one's going to be parallel, and then put the information in accordingly to make the tool move how I want it to move. Down here at the bottom, you have links between. So this would be, as it finishes a path, how do you want it to handle moving to the next step? By default, it's retractor clearance, retractor clearance. Those can be adjusted depending upon the type of programming that you're doing. Most of the time, retractor clearance is a pretty safe bet because it moves everything out of the way and you're not going to have to worry about crashing. So for the operation parameters for milling, even if it's roughing, it ends up being the same methodology and the same feature understanding. So from here, we're going to go ahead and hit OK down at the bottom. I'm going to click X up here, but we'll just hit OK. And then from that point forward, we have the ability to continue to go through this list and make changes to the features using those standard philosophies all the way through all of the setups.